I'm pretty sure we have all had the experience where you go to the doctor, you sit in the waiting room, and what do? You wait and you wait and you wait, and you're like, why am I waiting? Right? Just me? I know it's not just me, because I get asked this question all the time. Why do I wait so long at the doctor's office? So I thought I would make a video kind of explaining, going behind the scenes, showing you why the wait is so long when you go to your doctor's office for your appointment. It's a little bit different than my usual style of video, kind of tapped into my inner child, but hey, we're gonna go with it. I wanted to show you rather than just tell you why a doctor's appointment visit can get so delayed. If you guys are new here, I'm Liz. I'm a family nurse practitioner, and I make videos just like this one once a week, and a weekly vlog documenting my transition from a pediatric nurse to a family nurse practitioner. So if that sounds like something you might be into, make sure to hit the red button below and subscribe. And if we're already friends, welcome back. I'm kind of excited to show you this sort of weird video. Now let's get into this and see what on earth takes so long when you go to the doctor's office. Welcome to the clinic. Isn't it the most beautiful clinic you've ever seen? All right, guys, probably not, but don't judge me. I'm a nurse, not an artist. So it's a pretty standard layout of a doctor's office. There's the waiting room, reception area, the MA area, the provider's office, and then 3 different exam rooms. So before we get into our little story today, I wanted to introduce our friends that are going to join us for the ride. And don't judge me, yes, they're my child's toys. First of all, we can't have an office without a provider. This is Princess Provider. She's a family nurse practitioner, and she has worked at this clinic for 4 years. Can't forget May the MA. She is basically the glue that holds this office together. She does a little bit of everything, and she is rocking it. Mr. Pilot, he is our patient number 1. He's a 48-year-old male with type 1 diabetes who's going to be presenting to the office today for a routine diabetes checkup. And last but not least, we have Ella, a 27-year-old female who's coming in for her annual wellness exam, and she has concerns about a questionable mole. And if you were wondering if she's the one who's going to be frustrated about her wait at the doctor's office, you would be correct. So now that we've met everybody, let's go take a look at the clinic and see what's happening there. Okay, so we have Princess Provider hanging out in her office, May the MA hanging out in her little headquarters, and Mr. Pilot is chilling in exam room 2. As you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, it is 9:55 a.m. and Miss Ella is arriving for her appointment, and she's pretty excited because her appointment isn't till 10 o'clock. But since she's the perfect patient, she showed up a whole 5 minutes early to ensure that she would be on time and seen on time, because Girly has an appointment to get a mani-pedi at 11. Okay, 10 a.m., appointment time. Ella is sure that any second now, they're going to come get her and bring her back. Okay, 10:10. She has read all of the pamphlets on the walls talking about smoking cessation and going on lots of walks, and is pretty sure that really any second now they're going to call her back. So Ella is not one of those people that's, all up in the receptionist business, but it's 10:20 and there is still no sign of anybody, and she's getting kind of concerned about her fingernails and toenails that are supposed to be getting the treatment in 40 minutes. So she just confirms with the receptionist that, hey, my appointment was at 10, right? And the receptionist says, yes, it was at 10, but unfortunately, we are running a little bit behind. Why are they running behind, you might ask? I'm so glad you did. Let's take a look. So here it is, 9:50 a.m., and Mr. Pilot is arriving for his 9:45 appointment. He's running just an eensy-weensy bit late because he's coming from the airport and there was some traffic. So even though he's only 5 minutes late, this is a 15-minute appointment, so we already are down to 10 minutes to do intake, assessment, seen by the provider, the whole shebang. But May the MA is pretty used to this, so she's going to come out, grab him, they're going to go, do the vitals real quick, and then head on to the exam room. So just a fun fact, in addition to when patients come in and they get all their vitals taken by the MA is also getting information from them, such as, hey, what are your allergies? What are medications that you're still taking? Are you still using the CVS on this road? And they verify the reason why you're at the appointment and come up with any additional complaints that they can bring to the provider's attention. And all of that is done to save time on the provider's end. So it's not like there aren't efforts to save time and make things be less late, but it just kind of backs up, as you'll see. So now it's 9:55, and remember, we have Ella, who's in the waiting room right now, thinking she's going to be on time for her 10 o'clock appointment, which would mean that the provider only has 5 minutes with this pretty complex patient. Princess Provider is a very experienced NP, but even she won't be able to do this entire appointment in 5 minutes. That's just crazy. Because she's in charge of his healthcare, so she needs to make sure everything's going okay, his blood sugars have been in check, and his preventative care is all in line. And now, even though Princess Provider is kind of feeling the crunch for time here, Mr. Pilot is a jolly fellow, and he just loves to chat. He's talking about his dog, he's talking about his daughter's ballet recital, and he's just so excited. It's really hard to get word in edgewise, let alone talk about all the other things they need to be talking about. So while Princess Provider and Mr. Pilot are having their little powwow, let's look back and see what May the MA is doing. So after leaving Mr. Pilot's room, May goes back to her headquarters and is entering all the information for Mr. Pilot, what his blood sugar was today, what his urine dip showed, all the usual stuff for a diabetic checkup. She's also frantically trying to review all these messages that are coming in and have been flowing in all morning from pharmacies, insurance companies, patients, requesting refills, sending messages about their cough that's been lasting the 3 days. You know. She really tries to keep somewhat on top of this, otherwise it's like an avalanche and you can easily get buried. And the next thing poor May knows, it's 10:20. She looks up at the clock and realizes, oh my goodness, there's poor Ella sitting out in the waiting room. And as you remember, Ella had just been questioning the receptionist, saying, do I even have an appointment today? She has never been so relieved in her whole life to see May the MA. And back they're going to go to repeat the process we saw earlier with Mr. Pilot. Going to do some vitals, ask the same general questions, get everybody kind of settled in so they're ready to see Princess Provider when she's finally done with Mr. Pilot. So here we are, 10:30 a.m., and we are finally in a room with Ella, 30 minutes after her appointment was supposed to begin. Are you starting to see how this can kind of snowball? Yeah, me too. So it's at this point that May says, don't worry, Ella, the provider will be in super soon, and then she goes on her merry little way. So where is Princess Provider anyway? To answer that, we're going to have to go back in time just a couple minutes to 10:15, where Princess Provider is slowly inching her way towards the door in her appointment with Mr. Pilot. They've gone over everything, and Princess Provider is pretty impressed with herself that she was able to cover everything, get a good chat in, all in 20 minutes. That may actually be a new record for Mr. Pilot. And just as she was about to exit the room, Mr. Pilot drops the dreaded line, oh, by the way, I've been having some chest pain and my face is kind of numb. And back in Miss Princess Provider goes. She is kind of endlessly amazed at how people always save these lovely little nuggets until the very end of the appointment. And you ought to address them because, well, you know, a stroke. So that answers the question of where Princess Provider is. Now let's go back and find out what May's doing after she got Ella settled. She's back in her MA headquarters. She was checking some messages and then answered the phone call from the pharmacy, who was calling to say a prescription that Princess Provider had ordered earlier in the day was being declined on insurance purposes. They're not entirely sure what alternative prescriptions they could offer her, but she needs to change it ASAP because the patient's there and she's not happy. So May heads out on a search for Princess Provider to tell her the lovely news, just as Princess Provider was exiting the room after determining that Mr. Pilot was indeed just having chest pain and facial numbness as a side effect of drinking 4 liters of Diet Mountain Dew a day so he could stay awake while in an airplane. And Princess Provider promptly told him, 1, great job for trying Diet Mountain Dew with your diabetes, but maybe 4 liters is a little bit much. So she heads back to her provider office where she quickly calls the pharmacist back, figures out an alternative medication, and answers a few other urgent messages. And she is finally heading into Ella's room at 10:45. Poor Ella's been waiting in there forever when she overhears a mother who is kind of a little bit irate in the waiting room saying she needs a form signed for her child or he cannot go on the field trip today. She quickly signs that form because otherwise you know there's going to be a negative Yelp review and we can't have that, and then gets on her way to poor Ella. And that, my friends, is how you can show up early for your 10 o'clock appointment and not be seen until 10:50, causing you to miss your mani-pedi appointment. So that was just a super short clip kind of showing you a little bit of what on earth can go wrong behind the scenes to make your appointment time so much longer. And guys, it goes so much deeper than that. You can have patients that come in that need all sorts of treatments like then and there. That's going to shove your appointment time backwards. Usually when you're like up to your neck in oh my gosh is when your office manager walks by and decides that they're going to ask you why you haven't closed all these charts from the morning, and you're like, what? There's so many other things that can go wrong, so many other responsibilities you have to take care of. As the patient, we see this tiny little glimpse of like, hey, I see my provider for like 10, 15, 20 minutes and then they're gone. So why on earth is this taking so long? You're not seeing the charting, all the messages.
Guys, providers get messages all day long. You know how when you log into your portal and you shoot them off a message, or you're like, hey, I need a refill? That all comes through to the provider. So they are sifting through that. The MA is helping to sift through that. You're doing refills. You are trying to notify the patient, hey, no, I won't give you another refill till you come see me. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes. Hopefully this gave you a little tiny snippet of why an appointment could be delayed. If you guys like videos like this, make sure to give this a thumbs up and tell me down in the comments, do you like videos like this? Do you want to see other ones kind of like this, or was this too weird and you hated it? Let me know down in the comments below. Again, if you guys are new, if you're into content like this, make sure to subscribe down below. I would love to have you on my adventure, and make sure to follow me over on Instagram, where I post lots of polls and other goodies throughout the week. And as always, thanks so much for hanging out with me this week. Hope you're having a great one. I will see you all next time. Bye.